Hey, what's up guys? Today I'll show you an American horror film, Truth or Dare. The movie begins with an old car, driving through an international border road, and we can see it stopping at a shop. A Latina girl wearing hoodie goes into the shop and asks for something. Immediately, the shopkeeper ends the call and asks her truth or dare in a scary voice. She begs him that she can't do it anymore. A few moments later, she pours a flammable liquid on a random woman and lights her up. In the next scene, a girl named Olivia tells her friend Marky about her plan to build houses for other people during their spring break. Since this is their last vacation, Marky tries to convince her to go on a trip to Mexico. After some more convincing, she finally agrees, and they go on the trip along with their other friends. After arriving in Mexico, they go to a party, and surprisingly, Olivia finds her annoying old friend named Ronnie. A strange man calls for Olivia, and Ronnie gets pissed off after seeing him. They both get into a small quarrel, but Ronnie backs away. The stranger introduces himself as Carter, and orders a beer for her. Olivia starts a chat with him, and finds his hormones attractive. After the party, he invites the whole group to a place, and tells them that it'll be fun. After crossing a fence, the group enters an abandoned church. They all go inside and have a drink. Olivia starts exploring the place and finds a strange photograph of a couple. Suddenly Ronnie comes behind her, and they both scare each other. While having a drink, Carter suggests that they should play a game of truth or dare. The group finds it interesting, as it's a good chance to reveal their friend's darkest secrets. The game starts with Ronnie, and Penelope dares him to do a lap dance for Tyson. Ronnie is reluctant at first, but agrees to do it and starts to dance. As the game goes on, Tyson reveals that Olivia has a crush on Marky's boyfriend Lucas. Hearing this, Olivia gets confused and denies the accusation. When it's Carter's turn, he starts saying some bullshit. He says that he tricked Olivia and brought the group here. Before ending the conversation, he says that he's okay with strangers dying. The group is confused by his statement. Carter apologizes and leaves the place. Olivia goes after him, and Carter warns Olivia to continue the game, or else that they would die. The group doesn't take this bullshit seriously, and they start leaving the place. In the next scene, Olivia meets her school named Brad, and they talk about their Mexican experience. For a while, Olivia goes to the class, and she notices truth or dare scribbled on her desk, but she ignores it. Later she goes to her house, and her friend Penelope invites her to a study party. But Olivia denies her request and says sometime later. Then Penelope's boyfriend hands her a funny prescription and tells her that he wrote it using his lucky pen. Olivia then gets back to her room and checks her mail. She gets shocked after seeing the words truth or dare again at the backside of the mail. Then she proceeds to walk to the window and looks at a homeless man on the street. An old man turns back weirdly and walks away. She ignores it once again and puts Marky's letter at her doorstep. After a while, Marky visits Olivia's room, and Olivia clarifies her intentions about Lucas. The next day, Olivia finds the same words truth or dare scribbled on her car. She assumes that her friend Ronnie must have written that on her car and argues with him. To Olivia's shock, Ronnie says that he doesn't see anything written on her car. She gets frustrated and leaves the place. She walks into the library and searches for Marky. But when she enters the library, a woman calls her and asks the words truth or dare. Suddenly, everyone in the library changes their appearance and starts moving closer to Olivia, continuously asking truth or dare. Olivia gets scared and says truth. They all question her about the secret she's hiding for her best friend Marky. Olivia couldn't take the pressure anymore and shouts that Marky is constantly cheating on Lucas. Suddenly everyone turns back to normal after Olivia speaks the truth. After hearing the truth about his girlfriend, Lucas gets upset and leaves the place. Marky gets pissed off at Olivia and follows him. In the next scene, we can see Ronnie trying to hormone talk with a random girl. But she avoids him and goes away. Suddenly, she turns back and asks him truth or dare. Ronnie says dare, and she dares him to get on the table and show his pee-pee publicly. Ronnie accepts the dare and gets on the pool table and starts opening up. But before even seeing his worm, someone in the crowd says that it's not going to be that amazing. This upsets Ronnie, and he refuses the dare. Suddenly he becomes unconscious and his face changes. He walks on a pool ball and falls from the table. He hits his head and dies on the spot. Meanwhile, we can see Olivia at her home, explaining to her friends about what happened at the library. Suddenly, they all receive a notification at the same time and watch a video of Ronnie's incident. Now, Olivia understands that the strange things have been occurring since Mexico and tells her friends that everything Carter told them was real. A few moments later, Lucas arrives and Olivia tries to convince him that something forced her to tell the truth. But Lucas doesn't buy her bullshit and leaves the place. While walking down the street, Lucas hears some strange voice calling him. But he ignores it and continues to walk. He even spots Truth or Dare highlighted on the street wall. Suddenly, he feels some irritation in his forearm, and we can see the word Truth or Dare appear as his arm bulges. Olivia receives a call from Lucas, and he says that he chose to confess his feelings towards her since they met. Later, Lucas joins Olivia at her home, and they both warn their friends about this. Sometime later, Marky arrives, and Olivia realizes that it's Marky's turn. So, she asks her not to go anywhere alone. Suddenly, Marky receives a message Truth or Dare, but she doesn't believe it and thinks that Olivia is playing with her to create content for YouTube. But Olivia forces her to answer, and Marky texts back the word Dare. Finally, we find out that the dare is to break Olivia's hand. Olivia finds the hammer and triggers Marky to break her hand. She successfully pisses off Marky, and she breaks her hand with the hammer. Tyson and Penelope leave the place, as they can't bear this stupidity. The others rush to the hospital to treat Olivia's hand. At the hospital, Brad tries to get some snacks from the vending machine, but it doesn't work properly. Suddenly, we can see a scary dead old lady standing behind him. But when he turns around, she disappears. As expected, he hears the same scary voice asking Truth or Dare, and the dead old lady grabs his neck and asks Truth or Dare. But when his father comes to see him, all the surroundings turn normal. He asks Brad to visit his mom, and Brad reveals that he is gay. He runs to his friends to tell them about the incident, and Olivia informs everyone that Tyson is next in the game. Brad texts him, but he ignores it with an emoji and goes in for the interview. Then the group rushes to the med school to save him. The woman interviewing Tyson asks him the holy words, Truth or Dare. This annoys Tyson, and he replies Truth. The woman questions him about his medical prescription forging, but Tyson lies to her. Unfortunately, the group is too late to save him, and he kills himself using his lucky pen. The group informs Penelope that she is next, and they all decide to always choose Truth, so that it will be easy to survive. We can see Marky taking Penelope to bed, after she intoxicates herself with alcohol. Sometime later, Olivia searches for Carter on Facebook. Marky finds a videotape of the incident that happened at the beginning of the movie. They find the Latina girl who lit a woman on fire, and she sends a help message to end this game. Back in the bedroom, Penelope sees herself in the mirror, and the reflection asks for Truth or Dare, with a horrifying voice. As per the plan, she chooses Truth, but it doesn't let her pick it. In the next scene, the group finds Penelope walking with a bottle of vodka on the edge of the rooftop. Pen says that she has to walk until she finishes the bottle. The group keeps a mattress ready in case she falls. Lucas rushes to the rooftop and tells her that he will be there to save her when she finishes the dare. After finishing the bottle, she becomes unconscious and falls. But luckily, she lands on the mattress. Right after this stunt, Olivia receives a reply from the Latina girl, and the girl introduces herself as Giselle. They meet her in a secret place, and Olivia asks about Carter. Giselle says that Carter was one of her friends who played this game. But when Olivia asks her how to end this game, she replies that she doesn't know to end the game. In between their chat, Lucas asks why it didn't let Penelope choose the truth. Giselle tells them that 2 truths and 1 dare is the game. She also reveals the truth that Carter's dare was to find a new group to continue the game. Olivia asks her if it's her turn now, and questions her whether she chose truth. But Giselle replies that she chose dare, and suddenly, she shoots at Olivia with a gun. But unfortunately, Penelope takes the shot to save her friend. Since Giselle fails to complete the dare, she proceeds to shoot herself with the gun. Back at home, Lucas finds an article about the massacre that happened in the same church years back. In the next scene, we can see Olivia and Lucas driving to Tijuana to meet Inez. She's an old woman and a former nun at the same church. Since she cannot speak, she talks to them by writing on paper. She tells them that she summoned an ancient demon named Calyx to save herself from the abusive priest. Then the demon possessed the game of Truth and Dare. But it kept the game going and killed all her friends. But in the end, she had managed to trap the demon using a ritual. But the process had to be done by cutting off her tongue and sealing it in a pot. They realized that Carter must have broken the pot and released the demon. To trap the demon again, they need to find him again. In the next scene, we can see that Brad is dared to threaten his father with a gun. Brad does as he's told, but unfortunately, he is shot dead by an approaching officer. Now it's Olivia's turn, and she is dared to speak the truth. She tells Marky about the night Marky's father had killed himself. She tells her that he had sexually assaulted Olivia, and she had told him that Marky would be better off if he was dead. After hearing this, Marky was angry at first, but later tells her it was not her fault, as her father had tried to kill himself before. Sometime later, Olivia, Marky, and Lucas find Carter and force him back to the church. As Carter goes through the ritual, Lucas is dared to kill either Olivia or Marky. But when he refuses, the demon possesses him and kills Carter before completing the ritual. Then the demon also kills Lucas. When it's Marky's turn, Olivia tells her to choose Dare, but refuses to complete it. Marky does so, and the demon possesses Marky, and now Olivia forces the demon into the game by asking it to pick Truth or Dare. The demon is now forced to tell the truth, that there is no way they can escape the game alive. It also tells them that they will all die, unless they add more people to delay their next turn. Olivia uploads a YouTube video, in which she warns all the viewers about the game and says its rules. She then asks Truth or Dare, involving whoever hears the phrase into the game. By doing this, she delays her and Marky's next turn for the time being.
Truth or Dare?